Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is Game of Trades and this is going to be a technical analysis of the crude oil WTI futures. Now, it's been a while since I haven't made an update on crude oil, so I've got a lot to catch up today. If you are new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Helps me out a lot, and without further ado, let's get right into it. So this is a daily chart of the crude oil futures, and before I start to get into the technicals of crude oil, I just want to say a few things about the correlation to the market. And if you haven't noticed, crude oil has actually been following the S&P 500 and the broad markets almost every day now. When crude oil has an up day, so does the stock market and vice versa. And they have extremely similar charts, but they don't tell exactly the same story, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Um, some of you may be wondering why I'm so short on crude oil, and so many of you are actually long on crude oil and wondering why I'm short. And I can tell you that the stock market has multiple divergence on multiple time frames, telling us that more downside is coming in the next few weeks and months. And considering the correlation between the stock market and crude oil, I favor more downside on crude oil. It is as simple as that. So now that I got that out of the way, I can talk about the actual technicals and the levels to watch on crude oil. So you can see I drew a downtrend line here. I made it a little bit too long, but this is basically the downtrend we have. This is the rate at which we are going down on crude oil. And until the stock market is going to show signs of recovery, I expect crude oil to remain under this downtrend line. Now that potentially could lead us to undercut these lows, and that's what I've been saying since around here. Since I started the YouTube channel, I talked about us having a counter rally and that we would eventually potentially undercut these lows. And so far, it seems like we are heading there. Now, we could talk about the divergence we have on the daily chart here, and that, in normal times, that would give me a long signal. It would tell me, all right, time to go long on crude oil. But considering, again, the correlation with the stock market is not showing any signs of recovery. And until I see signs of recovery on the S&P 500, on the QQQ, on the NASDAQ, until I see that, I am not going to go long on crude oil. That is just, it doesn't make sense to me. Now, obviously, I want to add something. Nothing goes straight down. So when I say there's more room to go down and that we might potentially undercut these lows, that's not, this week. Obviously, that would probably take a few ups and downs on the graph before we get to this 42 level. But I think it's definitely a potential scenario for crude oil. That's definitely something to consider. Now the levels, I think that if you're trying to short crude oil, if you agree with me and you're shorting, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to wait for the counter bounce. I think this downside has ended for the time being, and I think we may bounce all the way to the trend line, or I'm going to give you guys a level here. This is one level that we could bounce to, this 55 level. I think we may bounce here. That's a potential scenario, and then resume the correction to the downside. Now, obviously, we have already bounced today. I think it's a 2% bounce so far. So that could be enough to start another leg down, but I favor a little bit more upside. You can see I put a minor downtrend line here. If we start to break this downtrend line, if you're an active trader, you can you can do a little long trade all the way to this 55 level. So that's one thing to look at. It's for the more short-term traders. This is how it may pan out. And then we'll obviously resume the leg down if the short case plays out, and that would come on a break below 50. I think if we start breaking impulsively under this level that we've encountered twice, if we start breaking below it, I think the selling will get more impulsive, and we'll definitely see a leg down to this 45 level, and potentially squeeze in a little bit of extra selling at the end to visit the 42 level. So that's about it, and that, that would set us up, again, for you guys that are long on crude oil, that would set us up for a nice reversal. It could potentially look something like this. We make our way down in the next few weeks. We'll form a nice little wedge, reach this 45 level, and that would give us some nice divergence on the daily chart, and you can take a look at the weekly chart. That would also probably give us some weekly divergence if we start to undercut the lows we have here. That would give us some weekly divergence, and that would definitely set us up for a nice rally, potentially all the way back to here. If we have some divergence on the weekly chart, it could go on for a nice multi-month rally. So that's something I'm watching. I think there's still room for short side, so I'm not going to set up any long trades right now on crude oil. I'll definitely make videos if I see short opportunities. If, for example, I see a bounce to the 55 level and I see a potential short trade here, that would definitely make a good video, a good trade idea, like I do a good trade setup with some good stops and targets, which I've already laid out here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have not already. In the meantime, good luck on your trading, and see you next time.